Good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scouser's morning coffee or tea with American Scouser on a Wednesday morning. Where that's right, I'm back to being the greatest dad. Man, it's fading away more and more every time you get this thing washed over here. There's almost nothing left. But speaking of number one, number two is in the audience. What's going on, Gordo? But in the studio here is Mark. What's happening, man?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. I imagine it's with the run of form we've been on. It must be hard to continue to be the greatest dad, which is why it might be kind of
Could
fading a
be.
little bit.
Could be. Yes, very depressing days, honestly. After maybe I'm getting older though, it's not hitting as hard. Honestly, like I was talking about this, we did the Rival Bros with my brother, who's now like all this happy, gloating guy because somehow it's the bizarro world and everything has turned upside down. We were recording that. Honestly, he said it's part of being getting old, but I'm so aggravated and upset and frustrated with people who are losing their heads so easily that I don't have enough energy left than to be mad at the team and everything else as well. My entire energy is spent on like over the top reactions. He said that's pretty much getting old. So he might be right on that.
I think there's something in it. I think um I feel that as the older I get, so I remember being a teenager and thinking like I can't emotionally be this attached to this football club. I can't emotionally let my whole week be ruined because Liverpool, like whatever the result was. And I thought I'll eventually grow out of it. Like at some stage, I'll stop caring as much. It's funny because the time for me emotionally when this is best to happen is after we've won something, right? So when we won the title in 1920, as in 2019, 2020, not
I was
1920.
like, I'm like, man, you
I'm
don't
not
look
that old.
a day
Yeah.
over.
Yeah. When we won the Premier League the first time, I was on such a high about the whole thing for months afterwards that it kind of didn't bother me that actually we were quite. We had a really bad season the next season. Not a really bad season, a relatively bad season for what we'd set a few seasons
Yeah.
before that. I kind of feel the same thing as happened a little bit this time round. I still think, last week, I think I spoke to you on it was exactly a week ago, right? It was the day
Yep.
we played Frankfurt. And I was like, I think we'll turn it around. I think this Frankfurt game is coming at just the right time. I think we'll put a few goals past them and that will kind of turn it around. I wasn't going to go, but I ended up going to the Brentford game. I imagine no one here knows where I come from, but I basically essentially I come from Brentford. I actually come from the town next to it, from Ealing, but I come from Brentford. I was playing rugby during the day, and my friend said I've got a spare ticket. I used to go to Griffin Park quite a bit when they were really, really bad, and when I was a kid, because effectively tickets weren't free, but they were very cheap. And at that point, it looked like Brentford were more likely to go out of business than they were to become a Premier League side,
Yeah.
right? So when I go to this fixture in particular, it's a really weird fixture for me because we'd always talk about it at school, but we never thought it would ever happen, right? We couldn't see the path to it. And actually, when I go there and I look at what they've built at Brentford, I think, man, if these guys could do what they've done, absolutely anything in this world is possible, right? But anyway, that aside, I'm definitely a Liverpool fan. I sat there and I was absolutely devastated by what I saw. I am an optimistic person. I like to think, even now, I think we can still win whatever we want to win this season. I think it's within our grasp. But what I saw on Saturday was absolutely shocking. The one thing I will take away is I think there's two slight problems from it. I think I'm not going to call it tactics. I'm going to call it the structure is playing with at the moment. To me, looks a bit off, and it's way too easy to run through us. So it's way too easy for the opposition to create chances, and that is having the impact that's having on our players, and the way I've seen Virgil react to it when he's standing just in front of me, and the way I'm seeing the desperation I'm seeing with the other players is taking quite a severe toll on their mental well-being while they're on the pitch, which in turn is having a severe impact on me.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we were like, on the Monday podcast, especially we're talking about it. I just feel like there's an uncontrolled midfield and
Yeah.
a poor defensive start from the top, which affects everything else. I mean, whenever we concede goals, everybody just looks at the back four and stuff like that. But it just feels like, I mean, there were some, I mean, you were in the stadium, so you probably saw it firsthand because you can see it happening right in front of you. But there were so many times, especially, I think it was the second half, or maybe it was the first half actually, where it will look like we almost won the ball, but we don't have the control yet. Like we put a foot on it or something like that, but we haven't grasped it. And there'll be like five guys just running forward. It's like, dude, we don't even
Yeah.
have the ball yet. And we would not get the ball because we did not win a lot of those second balls, unfortunately, this weekend. So suddenly, like everybody's out of position. People have taken off thinking we already got the ball and starting a counter and stuff. There's like an uncontrolled, almost like a little panicky attacking, we gotta score mindset. And I don't know if it's because we're conceding goals, so psychologically they're like, hey, we gotta score more because we're gonna concede goals. I don't know if it's that was mainly, you look at the transfers we did too, it's almost like the focus was more about getting more goals, but while we're trying to figure that out, we've kind of like stopped working on stopping these long balls and defending and stuff like that. I wish, hopefully with today, there would be a bit more control and say, okay, let's not concede over here, we're going to eventually score. I felt like that was more slot ball. What we're playing now is like a slot balls slash club, like ridiculous attacking, but then you don't have the defense. Like when you do that, when we switch to that club mode suddenly, you do not have a Fabinho or a Henderson or whatever that is just has that the defensive mindset. So like everybody is taking off and there is no structure, no defensive stability and nothing. I just hope we fix that first, because the goals will come if you can stop and control the midfield and slow the pace and like keep the ball. And then as you attack, you have, I think, enough talents to be able to get those goals, but you just got to stop conceding stuff.
I 100% agree with everything you've said. I think it's quite that kind of last 15 minutes of where I was sitting was was I was, where Salah scored his goal.
Yep.
I was almost in line with him there,
Yeah.
not on what, it doesn't matter what side, but on the side of the pitch he was on, and because of that, in the first half, I watched our we're like a chocolate. It's like we're soft underbelly in the middle of it. We were losing all the battles in midfield, and because of that, they would just get such a run on us. You kind of see how much work Konate and Virgil and Kirkes and Bradley are having to do to try and stop them making chances. I haven't actually. I've spared myself from watching the highlights because I was like, I know the score. I don't need to watch this again. The goalie is really good. He's not as good as Allison, but I thought he was really good. I think they're stuck somewhere in between, trying to play kind of clock ball and slot ball, and they're losing battles in midfield. The minute you concede early, the opposition have their confidence up. I do think we feel like we can score at will, and I think something that should be a strength has now become a weakness. And also, the longer we go not scoring in a game, the more the opposition defense kind of grows in stature. And then
Yeah.
you're like, I mean, there was no point in that game. Actually, no, I'll rephrase that. Apart from the last kind of 10 or 15 minutes when we were going hell for leather trying to get a goal and an equaliser, there was no other point in that game I thought Liverpool are going to get anything better than a
Yeah.
draw here. When they score early on, you just think it's not even that. I don't think it's a mentality thing. I don't think at any point Liverpool players were happy to take a loss. That's definitely not the case. But I do think the structure is wrong with the way they're running out onto the pitch, with the way we're set up. There is something not quite right there. I'm not sure, because a lot of people are kind of saying if we had Mark Gay, this would all be fixed. I'm not sure that fixes the problem. I think the problem is McAllister's basically gone way off the boil.
Yes. And when
And
you don't have Gravenberg, one of them has
yeah,
to be there at the least.
yeah,
And I think even when you have Gravenberg, McAllister's the one. I was talking about this like Monday night. I think he's the one who brings the calm to that midfield, number one. And he's a lot smarter, I think, positionally, when you have Curtis Jones and Soboslai there, they're both ball winners, and they're gonna both give you the defensive work rates, like in terms of running. But I
Yeah,
think they're both ultimately attacking midfielders. That's how you, as you play the game, right, over years, your mentality builds one way or another. I mean, I played defense because definitely didn't have the pace to play anywhere else. So my initial thought always is safety first. So when something happens as a defender, I always think, what's the worst case scenario here? Like, what if the ball bounces there? What if, I cover the worst case scenario. Whereas as an
yeah,
attacker, you have like a different mindset, right? You're like, you roll the dice. You're like, what if he can't control that? What if he does this? Like, I'll run behind and stuff like that. And I think when you have Curtis Jones and and Soboslai, who are more attacking players, that's what I mean when we don't totally have the ball and control and possession, they're just taking off. They just want to go attack and score and stuff. And there's nobody that says, that's fine, you guys go. I got this over here. Like, I got this back here. I think McAllister is, and he makes those runs into the box, but I think they had a really good chemistry with Gravenberg last year, where when one pushed up, the other one would slide back and stuff. They covered for each other. If anything, early this season, I felt when Gravenberg was playing, he was pushing up way too high, regardless
yeah.
where McAllister was. So you need Mac in there, poor form or not. I think you need his presence, even if his passing is not going to be great.
I think they've, all our managers that, not all the managers complain about not having time training, right? Because now we're in this cycle of playing
Yeah.
every 3-4 days. They've got to figure out how to fix this midfield, right? They've got to return some balance to it at the moment, because that's where we're losing the ball in the midfield. We're losing the midfield battles, and that's what's letting us people run at us. And then, that's also what I can understand why Virgil's frustrated, because you go online and there's like, it feels like half the planet's ready to jump on Virgil's back to say he's lost it and he's old, he can't do it anymore. But I definitely don't think that's the case. I don't think physically he's any worse than he was 6 months ago, or lost anything about the game, and he reads the game superbly. But I just think there's just way too much pressure coming onto our defense. I don't know what the solution. I'm not a football manager. On a Slot and a number of other people are paid a lot more money in the club than I am to work out how to fix this. What I'm kind of surprised about, and I'm sure you guys have talked about this last few days, is how quickly so much of our so-called fan base seem to have turned on this side. Like, the idea that people are taking to social media and talking about, could we persuade Klopp to come back? How long's Slot got? It's like, it's absolute nonsense. Everything I said earlier on the season about Liverpool being the most well-run club in the world is still true, and part of that is sticking through pain. None of that changes because of 4 bad results. Even if we have 5 or 6 bad results, none of that changes. I still, I kind of, it in a way, if it's going to hurt, let it hurt real bad and then not hurt for a while, right? Yeah, do the surgery early, opposed to have one big open heart surgery, opposed to 8 different minor surgeries, right?
I guess, yeah, let's just get it all out of the way. Yeah, that's the part that really gets to me, is how fast people turn. And like I say, these are the same people, and I know it for a fact. It's not even like I'm assuming. There are, like, I'm in a couple of like WhatsApp chats of like other channels like us and stuff like that. And there are guys who are looking to sell Mo in January. These are, I know for a fact, are the same guys who, like, 5 months ago or so, were saying, pay the man what he wants, give him whatever he needs, doesn't matter if it's a million a week and stuff. And the same guys that in another 6 months from now are going to bitch and moan about players being loyal, leaving clubs, there's no loyalty left and stuff like that. I mean, it's the up and down of fans, of some fans, like, just really blows the mind. The social media part of it is always a hot mess. It's almost like I'm coming to the point where, like, you can't even, like, you must be a bot or something. There's no way an actual human being thinks like this, but sadly they are human beings, so they are like, like writing stuff. So I kind of can ignore that. I just go nuts when I see like these chats and stuff that I'm in, where people who talk about this on a day in and day out basis can just like lose their minds. I mean, if you think about it, if you take the international breakout, we're talking about like a 2.5 week period over here that, it's been a poor run of form. I know it's, frustrating to watch. I mean, heck, you were there physically watching it. It's frustrating to watch, and you feel like the solutions are there. Like when you were talking about Van Dijk, I think like we just had a short go out on this too, because I really think, maybe because I played the position, but there are times where like you're there and you're like, what's in front of you is not going to work. Like,
Yeah.
going out there, man, that's not gonna work. Like, he's gonna, okay, whatever. Like, you just go out there and try to do your job still. But there's a frustration that comes with you knowing it's not gonna happening now in front of you, where it is not happening, and you knew it all along. And to be on top of it, you are the one who has to clean it up nonstop and like cover areas and stuff like that. Everybody harping on Kirkes and stuff are not looking at freaking Gakpo. Like, literally, we had a Discord chat. I mean, people were like, "Oh, look at Kirkes running around with his head cut off." Yeah, because it was three of them, two of us, because Gakpo was nowhere to be found. It was Curtis Jones and Kirkes running between three Brentford players like crazy. They were playing keep away. Meanwhile, Gakpo is still slowly coming back. It's like, that's why I feel like really the biggest problem is, and we were all okay with him being sold and stuff like that. It's not the player himself and Diaz. I think we've totally lost any defending starting from the top, in terms of, like, you
Yeah.
have possibly Ekitike is better than Isak. But still, when you have Gakpo, I mean, we had Gakpo, Isak, Mo one game. I was like, might as well not defend at all. But I feel like we're really losing that with Gakpo's defensive work rates, leaving the left side exposed. Mo, you can't say, Mo, okay, you're not going to defend like we did last year and it paid dividends, and then not do the same thing on the left hand. You can't have multiple players who are not going to have any defensive responsibilities, because this is what happens. You get overrun. We talk about midfield. Part of that is what's in front of that midfield.
I there's a lot you talked about. Can I talk about the social media side of it first?
Sure.
Because I think on Liverpool fans need to basically stop losing their minds. Like, firstly, as a fan base, we've been through so much in the last just the last 12 months have been an absolute roller coaster with moments of pure tragedy as well, which has been really
True.
shocking as well. We've also got to understand nothing is ever won or lost in the end of October, right? We are still in a relatively decent position. Liverpool Football Club haven't won back-to-back league titles since the 80s, right? If we were able to do that, that was amazing. I did think earlier in the season, the first few weeks, that maybe we could do, right? Actually, what's transpired is we're a team in total transition. There is a lot of change going on. Just because, every single player that we've spent money on, we have done all the, not me, and not you either. Sorry, Tim, but the backroom staff have done all the work that you can possibly do to make sure that these are the right players. Someone like Florian Wirtz or Alexander Isak, we know they're good footballers. We just need to give them a little bit of time to figure out what their roles are in this team and how they all work together. Actually, it's not, 5-6 games isn't that many games in the grand scheme of things. Hopefully, Florian Wirtz stays at Liverpool for the next 10 years and becomes 10 plus years and becomes an absolute legend. You can see the way he kicks a ball around that he's going to be absolutely superb. Liverpool is not a club that makes knee-jerk changes because things go wrong in the short term. FSG has built this club around, and actually, when the good times rolled at Liverpool Football Club in the 80s and from the 70s all the way to the kind of early 90s, it was because we made long-term decisions and we stuck by the right people and we believed in ourselves and we backed ourselves, right? I think it's if you are a fan on social media who supports Liverpool Football Club and you're calling for managers to be sacked, or you're calling for other big changes in this team, or you've lost faith in this club, then you really don't understand what this club's core values are, and what makes this club unique to other clubs. Every club is unique. What makes Liverpool unique it isn't that we sack our managers, isn't um, isn't that we chuck the baby out with the bathwater. Yeah, we've had a bit of a bad run, but I'm absolutely 100% convinced that there is enough footballing brains in our backroom staff with the manager that they can turn this all around. Right?
Let me address this, by the way, because
Yeah.
Darwin the Goat is asking, did you guys see? I going with what you're saying. Honestly, I have zero respect. I don't even know this dude. This is the first time I've heard of the channel. I just pulled it up. Looks like they have a lot of followers. Good for them. And probably this is why, because they just go out there and say stuff that people are going to be like, yeah, like, if you go out there with the pitchfork, it's a lot easier to gather people around as opposed to if you go out there with common sense. So, but I have zero respect for people whose solution this is their solution, because I think it's such a lazy take to just say, yeah, let's just change the manager. After 2 weeks, if that's your solution, you just don't know, one, anything about the sport itself. Two, you don't know anything about the club itself. Even if you know the club, you don't know anything about FSG. I mean, you can't go around and mock United for the last, 10 years or whatever, for them changing the manager over and over again and stuff like that, and then asking for it is like the laziness, just like such a weak lazy take that it's not even funny. And some people are doing it, especially on social media, on like YouTube channels and stuff like that. Some of them are doing it because it's a lot easier to get views.
Yeah.
When you get the pitchforks out and say, come on, guys, let's go get him. It's a lot easier to get a crowd gathered like that out of anger than to say, yeah, what should we be doing? I would love to know what this guy thinks, because all these guys who are like, there's just way too much change. And then in the next sentence, they're like, he should put this guy here, this guy there, and then offer another 6 changes on top of what's happening now. Yeah, it's just, this is what I mean, though. This is what aggravates me so much, that I don't have enough energy to get mad at the players, because I feel like the only thing that I'm not too thrilled with, and that maybe I'll ask you, maybe that's coming from frustration, but the work rates, like being second to every ball, not winning any of the second balls and stuff, that's more frustrating to me, because I think the rest of it can get sorted out. The effort part is a lot harder to sort out because it becomes a bigger issue.
Yeah, do you know what? It's interesting watching them, right? Because that was one of the things when I was sitting right in front of them that I wanted to take a kind of closer look at. I felt coming away from that, I felt whatever is going on there, whatever is going on in the dressing room, however the players are feeling, it is not for a lack of effort. You can see from the way they try and attack, right? In that last 15 minutes when they're going all out for a goal, how nuts they go for it, that it's not an effort thing. The not winning the second balls, though, feels like such a kind of like it I think there's something else going on that I don't fully understand, right? Because when you go out and play football in the park, or when you're playing football with your mates, we kind of characterize it as the person who works hardest, the person who's most up for it, will win that second ball. The thing is every single one of those players playing for either side on Saturday is a professional footballer who plays at basically the highest level you can play at, right, in the Premier League. And every single one of them wants to win the second ball. It's so weird to me, though, with that in mind, how few second balls that Liverpool are winning. So I can only suggest that, and the thing that I'm going to take away from watching that game, the thing that will live with me forever, isn't Salah's incredible goal, but it's actually Virgil screaming at the Liverpool players. That's what shocked me, if I was going to be honest. And I was like, oh, right. There's whatever is going on, it's something not quite right. Because they want to win the second ball, and the fact they're missing so many makes me think it's a structural thing. It's a tactical thing. It's not
so like you're talking about like their placement when that situation happens is off, like in terms of spacing.
Yeah, I mean, I can't. I don't think I know enough about actual where they're standing in on a football pitch to figure out why this is happening. Why are they always out of place for the second ball? When I think back the last few years of Liverpool, I was going to say the Klopp era, but it's even into last season, we score so many goals in the counter attack, and even against Frankfurt, we scored a great goal, a very Klopp-esque goal in the counter attack. And on Saturday, there was a few times when Brentford had attacks that looked almost identical to the way we've scored goals in the recent past. And I just cannot fathom why suddenly in the Premier League this has become such a big issue for us. And also, actually, against Frankfurt, we were winning second balls as well. So I don't know whether they've taken, maybe it's where they're set up on the step. But what makes no sense to me is how come we were able to do it last season with the same people setting us up? I mean, I know there's been a slight change in the assistant manager, but presumably, Johnny, there isn't, Van Bronckhorst has played in the Premier League as well and has been in and around this league for a long time. So I can't imagine whatever they've done is stopping us doing it. But there's something tiny that has changed somewhere that is causing this. The other thing I will add is I do think when Alisson comes back, and I mean, I'm conflicted saying this because, firstly, Alisson's not going to be around there forever. We're probably closer to the end of his time than we are at the beginning. And also, as I said, I don't think Mamoudiashvili is a bad goalkeeper at all. I think he's absolutely fantastic. But I think that Alisson will just bring slightly more calm into it just because he's been there for so long and he's done everything twice with Liverpool. So I don't think it's an effort thing. I don't think it's a talent thing. I think there's something wrong tactically with the way we're set up that is causing that. I also think with the second balls, it could be a confidence thing. And actually, if Brentford feel that they've got us on the ropes, maybe they keep coming for us and nicking those second balls. And that's the way it
reminds me, by the way, of like when you eat something, it's good, but there's something in there that you don't like. And then I can sense the slightest human suffering. So I can always be like, is there ginger in this or something? Like there's something in there that you don't like. And then, they won't tell me, Angie and the girls won't tell me because they know I'm going to bitch about it otherwise, kind of a deal. But then if I taste it, I'm like, man, there's something in there. So that's what it feels like. You're right. There's something. Just don't know what it is, but man, in the back, it's like messing up the whole flow of whatever is going on.
I wonder if it's a thing of the players are thinking, at the moment we're fragile, hang back, you might need to defend. Don't push in. Don't push in for the second balls when actually they need to win the second balls. I think the early part of Jurgen Klopp's time at Liverpool, he talked so much about second balls. I think that's also one of those things that for the people now that you kind of can't ever say FSG out anymore. I think the new kind of battle within the fandom is Klopp back. Like, what can we do to get him back? Kind of thing. And I think one of those battlegrounds is how are we doing with second balls? Because we know that was a big part of his kind of strategy. But yeah, oh gosh, I don't know if coming on here has been good or bad for me, Timucin. Whether talking about it is good talking therapy.
Sometimes it's good therapy, sometimes it's not. Yes, unfortunately, that's the way. But I think Darwin was saying it. I mean, that's another person. But hey, look, these guys are all a lot more successful YouTube channels than we are. But it's a lot easier to be that when you're just reactionary and basically you're just feeding off of fan emotion. And I honestly think a lot of these channels, when they go offline, when they click end stream, they go back to their default settings, and that's not how they are. And if they are like that, I mean, let's face it, if you're running off of fan emotion, I mean, you see what it is on social media. If you run a club like that, you're going to run it into the ground. I mean, you've been talking about, we talked about a lot about like how well this club is run, because it is not run on emotion. It's a lot more pragmatic. It's run on like intelligent. Actually, it's run as a business. You do not run your business like that. So these guys, basically, if they open the restaurants for 2 weeks, things didn't go right, they will be like, you know what? I guess we're going to be a tailor instead or something, like they would just change it instantly. And that's not how it works. You just got to figure out how to, I'm giving up on the manager in 2 weeks. And I know it's over a month period, but essentially it's like really 2.5 weeks of like actually like match play. is just ridiculous. I just don't get it. Not to mention you spent all this money getting. I honestly think though, like part of the plan was almost like, oh, okay, like we just need to, because he's talked about this where if we scored a couple more goals, like last season when we were winning the games 1-0, 2-0, if you were able to score a couple more goals and a bit more clinical, created a bit more, we would put those games away earlier. We would save some legs, so when you play against, PSG or whoever you're going to play in February, March, you would be fresher. You would not be as exhausted. You can kind of have a couple of throwaway games or you can rotate a bit more. I really think that was kind of like the plan, but it has backfired because now it looks like a FIFA team where you made a starting 11 out of offensive awareness and pace and stuff like that, and you need defensive stability you don't have. So now, yeah, you are scoring goals, but you're just leaking them so fast, and it's making it harder to score goals when you're playing from behind as opposed to being a tied game. Having said all this, let's come to today over here, because I think Football Flashback was asking earlier about Woodman being in goal. Today is like a weird thing for me because normally if things were going great, or at least, decent in the Premier League, like we're up by a point, 2 points, or whatever, we're within a point or something like that, I would say, hey, you rotate, whatever happens, happens for the EFL Cup. But now it's almost like, one, it feels like you got to stop the bleeding, and two, hey, it could very well be where you're actually going after like the cup trophies this year if the Premier League keeps getting away from you. So how do you view this game? Like how much of a rotation? Somebody sent it to me earlier that, the image that the club used has, Wirtz, Soboslai, McAllister, and stuff on it. Earlier this week when they did the social media post, Chiesa was on there. So I was like, what? This Chiesa is starting. But what do you expect to see? What do you want to see? Like, had this game become more important for you? Or was it always important for you? Like, it was not for me. So,
Firstly, I'm getting sick of playing Crystal Palace. I feel like we do it every 10 days. Secondly, I think after the result of the weekend, it's totally changed what we've got to do from this game. So I think that if my theory is the main problem is the midfield, if that's the problem, figure out what 11 you think we can put out for the weekend, and basically go with that 11 and try and get that midfield working. This is kind of a free hit, right? No one cares if we get knocked out of this tournament at this point.
okay, so that has not changed for you?
Yeah, I think that hasn't changed for me. In fact, if anything, so I think if I was walking into the AXA training centre, its official name, on Sunday morning after that loss on Saturday, my thoughts about Wednesday would be, we need to figure out what is wrong with our structure, what is wrong with what we're trying to do on the pitch, and how to fix that. And actually, the other core problem is that maybe we don't have enough time on the training field, right? Maybe we don't have. So what can we, with those two things in mind, I think you've got to go. This Wednesday is basically a time to experiment and try and figure out, right, will this fix what our midfield issues are, basically. So I think because of that, they've got to go with the same defense that they had on Saturday, or that they think what they're thinking about for this Saturday. Or we're playing on Sunday, aren't we? Yeah,
Sunday, yes.
Yeah, for this Sunday against Villa, and go for the same. It's basically got to be the same starting up front players up front, right? And then they've got to kind of figure out how they're going to work out the midfield and who's going to do what. And this is the kind of audition. I don't know whether it's put Endo in or whatever, because I think they've got to, if we, if it is a tactical issue, this is a moment to fix it. Even though I imagine Palace, who are also playing in Europe, will go in with a much weaker team than they would have in the Premier League.
Yeah, I mean, that's, I guess, the hope, right? I was just looking at this. Okay, so here is the image. Let me share this real quick. I don't know, how much we decipher into this to affect, who's going to be out there, but you can kind of see Robertson is on that image, Ekitike, Wirtz, and Saboslai. So I do think Robertson actually starts. So do you want? So it sounds like you want to use this game to figure things out and
Yeah,
not do rotation, not
not
save
do.
legs.
Yeah. I'm seeing Darwin the Great has put a team in. He's got Woodman. I don't know if you can. Yeah, there you go. Woodman, Ramsey, Gomez, Verge, Robbo, Maka, Endo, Verts, Rio, Ekatike, Chiesa. I would stick. I would unless the big Georgian's injured. I think for me, staying in goal because I think he needs minutes as well.
Oh, I
Um,
think they said Woodman is going to start.
oh,
That's what I
they
read
said
on
it.
the
Oh,
official
okay. Oh,
website and
okay.
stuff like that. Well, not they didn't officially announce it, but like he's gearing up for his
For
first
it.
blah 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 kind of a deal.
Yeah.
So I think it is
And
going to
that's
be
great.
Woodman.
And I'm excited for him as a player. Um, and then the other thing I will say is I don't know whether. So I think what might happen if we continue on this form, either this weekend or next weekend, is he might go for a totally new formation. I think there's a chance we might see Ibu, Virgil, and Gomez as a back three.
Part of me likes that. Part of me says it's almost like if the problem is that we're changing a lot too much, just because that's my only probably like complaints about like Slot. I was talking about this. He like some of this, we praised him last season, right? A lot of the subs he made in the second halves and stuff like that. But I mean, I was telling my brother earlier, well, like maybe like 6-7 hours ago when doing Rival Bros. Sometimes like it feels like the last couple of games, especially, he is managing the match itself like a 12-year-old playing FIFA and losing, where like they pause the game every 10 minutes to change
Yeah,
something else. It's like, dude, we didn't even see what the last change you made, what the impact
yeah.
was. Like you're changing it again. And you're changing positions of players. And I realize these guys are professionals. Sabostai has played here and stuff, but there's something to be said about rhythm. And when you're constantly changing like you're playing four different positions in a match, it's kind of hard to get into that rhythm of like, the flow of the game and what you should be doing and stuff like that, especially if you're going back to defense and things. I wish we would more say, this is the way, this is what we want to do. Now let's work on tweaking it to fit, to play against the long ball or whatever it is, right? As opposed to saying like, because it goes back to what these guys are doing on social media. Like, this is not working, get rid of slots. That manager's not working either. But it's been 2 weeks. Get rid of him too.
Yeah,
It's like, so
yeah.
I feel like I wish we would just more figure out like what he had in his mind, tweak that as opposed to constantly putting out a new page and a new formation out there.
Um, so I loved. I kind of love watching it when we're when we're chasing the goal. There's like a real rush about it. I thought Verts was actually the player looked most likely to score as they took him off on Saturday. One of the hallmarks, one of the reasons we won the title last season is we didn't get major injuries to any of our players, right? So they do, what are they pride themselves on the fact that they closely monitor how close they think our players are to injuries and all sorts of,
Yep.
different things. Obviously, there's some injuries that you can't, actual injuries that happen on the pitch, you can't mitigate against, but there's a lot of others you can. And I thought maybe that might have been the reason they bought Verts off. I'm not privy to that kind of data. I do kind of, I, I, I just don't know. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know whether we need to kind of reset it. I think a kind of tactical shift might be the way. I look back to the Conte. Is that the last time they won the title? That they actually started the season kind of quite indifferently. And actually, if you look at the stats, I know we've lost 4 games in the past, but if you look at the stats, Liverpool have started this season quite differently, right?
Yeah.
And then he made some sort of tactical change in kind of early November. He beat Arsenal. I think it was Arsenal they beat, and then they basically didn't lose a game to the end of the season. They won the title. There is a title-winning team in our squad, and not just because we are the title holders, but because we know these players can really play.
Yeah.
So it's just a case of kind of unlocking it and figuring out which of the combination that it works at. the combination might be to go 3 at the back, and then have kind of 5 in front, and then Isak and Ekitike up front. I don't know. Like,
the problem with that is you don't have enough center backs. Because we talk about that, because there's no way to rotate. Because we've seen Robertson as a center back. That was an ugly experiment.
Well, Endo would have to be the kind of spare, and you're kind of hoping that no one gets injured until January when you can bring someone in.
I just worry, like, when you play 3 in the back, you need your center backs to have some pace. They gotta clearly, because they gotta cover more area.
Yeah.
And I don't know if Endo has that. I think Gomez suits Gomez really well, I think. And I think it suits Konate and Van Dijk well as well. It would work with them. I just worry. I think that's why we're not seeing Gomez as right back a lot, because he doesn't want to risk having every single available center back on the pitch at the same time. Because if an injury happens, now we're stuck with 2 for another month and a half.
And also, I don't know how much I would trust Gomez to play a run of games. Like, go right.
Oh, I hear you. Yeah.
Every game up till at least January, and like I think the tactical issue is such a big issue that they'll at some point do something major. Or the other thing that could happen is Gravenberch comes back and actually he fixes all our problems. But I hate the idea that the whole season is dependent on one player.
Yeah.
As well. And I think we're kind of better than that. They've got to get Gravenberch back. They've got to get McAllister into some sort of form. Once those 2 things happen, I mean, arguably they were two of the most vital players for last season, right? And they've been totally out of it this season. So we'll kind of see what happens. I do think, you know, don't lose faith. Don't listen to all these other channels who think that, you know, Slot's got to go. They'll have us be managed by Sam Allardyce by January. Like, it's it's a disaster. People are hooked on the drama of it, right? People are hooked on the you know, the whole idea that you win a transfer window is absolutely crazy. I mean, obviously we all love it when we're spending huge amounts of money, but it's all crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, I think this is the lesson that everybody should learn, but won't. Right? Like, when we were not doing anything in the transfer window, everybody was like just screaming and yelling out of control. The same freaking channels that, you know, we're talking about over here, they were like, oh, you know, FSG out and stuff like that. Now, you know, they spent the money, so they can't say FSG out. See, if there were no transfers done, then it would be FSG out right now. Now it's like slot out. It's always like we want someone, ultimately, like these guys want someone to pay for it. And that's, you know, like the Slot is the chosen one, because I think we all know we brought in a lot of quality. So it's like, well, figure it out, but it is going to take time. Lucho says, yeah, Lucho, you should have been here. Audrey was supposed to be here this morning, but her work schedule and stuff changed because she's on the same thing over there. Came for Lucho, but stayed. The whole Kirkes thing. Yes, you are helping them. See, that's the problem, though, right? Like, people watch. I get the same thing. It's so funny because I get the same thing with like in Turkey with like Fenerbahce and stuff too. People complain about, you know, what people are saying, but they're only saying it because you're watching.
Can I just say to Musha, this whole like get Slot out, but you know, bring in bring in Sam Allardyce to save our season and all that. These are the mad ideas for people who support small clubs with small ambition, right? We're Liverpool Football Club, right? We won the title. We've won the European Cup more times than most people have won their domestic leagues, right? We do not think small. We do not think in those ways. We think how are we building a next dynasty? What has gone wrong with this dynastic rebuild, right? The summer was the end of that era of Liverpool Football Club. This is a new era of Liverpool Football Club.
Yep.
There's a bit of growing pains. Like, think about how all the highs of last season, and literally after 4 losses, you're like, get rid of Slot. Like, what is wrong with you? You're meant to be a Liverpool Football Club fan. How can you ever think that is the right decision at this point? Yeah, fair enough. If we get relegated, get rid of him, right?
Yeah.
But we're nowhere near that. We're not near that at all. The margins which we're losing games are absolutely tiny. We definitely could have got a draw on Saturday. We definitely could have beaten Manchester United. If they didn't get that penalty and we got that Gakpo penalty, it's a totally different game.
Yeah.
Yeah, Man United, if any of those Gakpo chances gone in, totally different game. If the referee had done his job and not disallowed that goal, or if Man U were a club of any sort of honour and they let us score a goal in reply to that, then talk about their first goal, then we are
Yep.
not in this situation. It's a totally different situation that we're in.
I mean, Darwin says, like, sported over 20 years and stuff like that. I really don't care. I mean, I know people my freaking age who just don't understand the game. Like, it doesn't go with age. Like you say, part of it, like, anytime you look at these channels, part of it is just to get the clicks. That's what they're after, and the views, because you're watching it and now you're talking about it. So now, if I was a sucker, I already looked it up, but there's no way I'm going to go watch this dude and support any content like that. But these are, hey, like I say, these are a lot more successful YouTube channels than we are, because they feel emotion as opposed to, and honestly, half the time, I really think they fake it. They might not even think it. They just say stuff that's going to get views. And, people connect a lot easier because they're like, yeah, see how passionate he is and stuff. Let's face it, I don't know what you would put a percentage. We were talking about this with my brother, for example, in a stadium over there. What is the percentage of people who actually understand the game and like the tactics and stuff like that? If I didn't tell you, if I didn't give you a sheet, who would watch the game for like 3 minutes and say, like, this is where all these guys are playing and stuff. And we brag about, like, Liverpool fans being a lot more knowledgeable than, like, for example, like other club fans and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But especially where social media money, views and stuff comes into play, it just goes away. And yeah, my brother always says 97-3. See, Ozan says, because we were talking about this in Rival Bros. What would you say is the percentage of fans in a stadium who really understand the game?
I think it's actually quite high. I think it's really high, right? When I'm in a stadium, it almost doesn't matter which teams are playing. I sit there quite quietly because I want to listen to what other people around me are saying, and I'm always surprised how much people around me know. And like, season ticket holders know a hell of a lot about the games, and I often think actually there is some value in listening to what season ticket holders say in
because
terms
they've
of
seen a lot, right?
because they've
Yeah.
seen a lot and they watch every kick, right? So, and also because they watch so much of it, they know what players are capable of. So I'm always like, especially with opposition season tickets fans, if you listen to what substitutions they want to make, they always have good reasoning behind it. So I actually, in general, I think the people who go to the games are the most well educated about about a team, opposed to the guys. Obviously I say this ironically, knowing that me and you are both on a YouTube channel, but it's so easy to faux outrage and to faux an opinion online when you're not the person having to make the decisions. You're not the person actually looking at looking at, you're not John Henry sitting in Boston going, what's going wrong here. It's so easy to start a stream and say everything needs to change, the manager needs to leave, and it's just not the way of our club, is it?
But at the same time, like, I think what I'm like referring to more is like understanding the full picture. I think people who say Slot are right now, I just can't even take him seriously and take their knowledge seriously. I don't care how old they are. I don't care how long of a fan they've been at, because I feel like it's a very lazy take, first of all, and you can't come up with any. Because if you ask these people what should happen, all they're gonna do is play whoever is not playing right now. It's like American sports. You've been here where like the backup quarterback is the most popular guy in town. So
you never
it
get
feels
more.
like that's their solution. And because we're not playing anybody who's not playing, and then when that happens, it's like, like, I think that's the part when you can't come up with solutions and your only solution, everything is basically you don't know how to fix something. The only way you can do it is unplug it and plug it back in. And that's like your way of fixing things.
The other thing I will say is, and I've been really lucky that I've talked to loads of people in elite who've either played or managed or in and around elite sport because of my work, and they always say they're like the biggest issue that they find with the press or with interacting with some of the fan-led media is that people who aren't in that elite sport environment don't understand the fine margins of elite sport, so they don't realize. So they quite often you'll read an article or you'll watch something online and they'll be like, everything at this club is toxic, it's awful, it's terrible, they're never gonna win, and they're just like, it's that's just simply not true. Like that there is this idea that some clubs are really far ahead, and clubs want to portray that, right? So Liverpool, for example, want to portray that their data, whatever they're doing, we're looking at data, is much further ahead than everyone else, and that may be true, but actually, it's probably not as far ahead from most of the rest of the Premier League as they like to portray it is. And the inverse is true as well, right? So I'd say if you look at the way they sign players, Manchester United are probably the worst team looking at data when it in terms of recruitment. But it's probably not as bad as we all like to kind of claim it is, especially us as Liverpool fans. But it like the margins in elite sport are just nowhere near what we all like to portray them to be. There is such a fine line between the best team in the league and the most middle team in the league, and also the team right at the bottom as well, right? And you know, if you look at these 4 games individually, apart from maybe the Palace game, well, I thought we got totally outplayed. There is moments in all those games where you think we could win this, and actually, you go back to the beginning of the season, the games we've been winning, it's those fine lines, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you can manufacture outrage about it, but I just don't. I mean, these guys are literally we've won the title. Like, what are you upset about at this moment, right? If there was a serious risk of us dropping out of the league, then I can understand your anger. But that is, at this stage, that is not something we're talking about. If we don't win another 10 games, I'll happily come on and say maybe FSG need to think about what's going on. There will be a point if we kept losing where that would happen. I don't think we're anywhere near that point though. And
no, and I don't think that will happen, I guess, is the thing. But I mean, you look at the fixtures, we do have a couple of, you have Real Madrid, you have City and stuff like that. Until the international break, it's a rough go. But once the international break is over, you do have a lot of easier pictures, at least on paper. Like, you play, instead of playing Real Madrid, you play PSV and stuff like that. So but if the results and the play keep going on, then I think it can become a conversation. It just feels like it is way too easy. Ozan's drawing the line at 12 consecutive defeats. I just don't see that's happening, and that's the thing. And Lucho, I agree with what Lucho is saying, though. I think we are definitely missing, and let's not do like revisionists takes over here. We were all okay with selling Diaz, especially at that money. It worked out great for everybody involved. Somebody has to fill that role. I mean, somebody has to run and fill that role. See, this is like,
I mean, that's not Anfield's agenda. That's Craig's agenda, isn't it? He might as well just like that. That's just to get a subscriber. If you want good Liverpool content, subscribe to American Scouser and just stay here. Just get all your Liverpool content here. Like,
yeah, if you want large, I mean, like, we have some contributors too who do want, like, they would just watch the Bald Squad tomorrow night, and I understand, but I think that's the problem with a single person running the channel too. Oh, hey, speaking of, see, there we go, like another guy who wants a but I think it's okay to have different takes. I think when it's one person constantly, I feel like then you are looking to see, hey, what's going to get the most views and what's going to get the most attention. I know what I'll do. I'll just grab this pitchfork and everybody will follow me. And I think that's basically what happens. It's such an easy take. I feel like if in 2 weeks your solution is firing the manager, that's such a lazy take. You're not putting a lot of thoughts into it. And then the same people who say afterwards, I think Goda was mentioning it, well, it's not my job to find a replacement, or it's not my job. So it's your job to fire, but it's not your job to find a replacement, I think is like a really, really lazy take at it. Right, Kazi? Kazi's in the audience, so he knows what I'm talking about. Go ahead.
Tim, I know you've got to wrap this up soon. Can I talk a little bit about what I went to see on Thursday night?
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was at the London premiere of the Kenny Dalglish film, which is directed by Asif Kapadia, who is a friend of mine. I've known him for quite a while, just because we work in, like, I don't make movies, I just make kind of podcasts and other kind of similar shows to this. But one of the shows I do, Brazilian Shirt Name, which we're actually doing a live on YouTube in about an hour and a bit at 4:00 UK time. Yeah, an hour and a bit. He's a big fan and listener of that. So he made Senna, Amy Winehouse, and the Diego Maradona film. He's a massive Liverpool fan. That's what me and him talk about. And his new film's about Kenny Dalglish, Sir Kenny Dalglish. It's on Amazon Prime. I think it's in cinemas in the UK this weekend. I'm not sure if it's in cinemas in the US, but it will obviously you'll be able to watch it on Amazon Prime from Monday. And it's absolutely amazing. He got really good access to Sir Kenny Dalglish. He interviewed him for hours and hours and hours. There's loads of great archive footage. We all know the story about his time there, coming from Celtic, the best player Celtic pretty much have ever had. Scotland superstar, coming to Liverpool to replace Kevin Keegan. Then he becomes an iconic player himself, wins the European Cup several times, becomes the manager, iconic manager. Then obviously he's the manager when Hillsborough happens. It talks about all of that and all of that moment. It goes into a lot about the politics of the UK at the time, where Liverpool, not just as a football club, but also a city is at, and how Kenny had to work within that, not work with, but, was there and all part of it. If you're a Liverpool fan, I would say it's absolutely essential viewing. And it's a brilliant documentary. And I was so lucky to get to the premiere.
Yeah, that's nice,
Kenny himself was there, and his kids. I mean, his kids are. Kelly is the biggest, or one of, if not the biggest, football broadcaster in the UK. And his son Paul Dalglish played, was at the Liverpool Academy, played for Newcastle. He played a lot of MLS, I think, as well. Had a great football career himself. So it was great to meet everyone there. There was loads of other British celebrities. Jamie Carragher was there, Ian Wright was there, and I was like a competition winner running up trying to talk to all these people. They didn't want to say anything to me, but that's fine. But yeah, I just want to give that a good plug. As I say, if you're a Liverpool fan, it's absolutely essential.
Yeah, I mean, Dalglish, I was actually a guest. We should come out pretty soon over here. A podcast, Crossing the Pond, and he was actually asking me my favorite player, like Liverpool player of all time. And I think, all these years, if I go like recent history, I would probably go with like Bobby, is what I was telling him. But Dalglish is the one that, really, really got me into this club in the first place. And I think, is like the way he played and stuff, especially in that era, man. I mean, it was almost like a decade ahead of his era kind of a deal. So like such a fun dude to watch. And then as a manager, the way he carries himself, the way he represents the club and stuff like that. Yeah. I was gonna say it is in the US. It is on Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I think that. Yeah, I think that might be right. I've got the dates mixed up. Can I answer the two questions above it though?
Oh yes.
So, how did you meet Asif Kapadia? Are you guys long-term friends? So, I don't know where you are based, Football Flashback, but in the UK, the BBC have a service called BBC Asian Network, which is a radio station basically for the British Asian community. I used to work there a long time ago now. And back when Asif first started doing his films, I think it was his Senna film. I think that was his first one. He would come in, he came in, talk to us, would be interviewed, he'd come on air and chat about his films and all that. And back then, pre-Oscars and pre-Winehouse and pre-Diego, when that film was first coming out, he was not a well-known and famous person. He's an incredibly nice guy. He's really lovely. So we just kind of stayed in touch since then. Talk about football. The show I produced, Brazilian Shirt Name, is a kind of spin-off of the World Football Phone-In, which is a kind of iconic British football show with Tim Vickery and Dotun Adebayo, which I also work on. And Asif is a big, big fan of that. And a lot of the inspiration for the Diego film, it comes from that kind of that world and Tim Vickery. So that's, I mean, we're not go out and eat together. We basically just don't talk about Liverpool Football Club. Maybe one day we'll go out and eat together. I'd love to. Can I also
But if
answer?
it's not people are talking to you at the premiere, you're not.
Can I answer the next question as well about
Which one? The guy. I had to address this, by the way. That's
no, the one below that. Why is that? Why Celtic copied "You Never Walk Alone"? Because I found out something about this.
Go ahead.
So the question Ozan has asked is that why Celtic copied "You Never Walk Alone" as their theme song as well? What I found out recently, I think Jonathan Wilson said it on something that I was listening to. It's actually loads of clubs used to sing "You Never Walk Alone." Like, so when the song, I think in the 50s and 60s, almost every club in England and Scotland used to sing "You Never Walk Alone." But the only two clubs that really stuck at was Liverpool and Celtic, and then obviously
so it was the Free From Desire of the day back in the day where everybody was
apparently.
Because I noticed I was watching something. I was like watching a Major League Soccer highlight because Fenerbahce plays it after goals and stuff. So I'm like, man, this Free From Desire is like everywhere. So I'm assuming that's how it was. I did not realize that a lot of teams. Why would they drop it? Or what did they drop it for? Like, did they just come up with their own kind of a deal?
I have absolutely no idea when other teams stopped doing it, because they we were talking about something on one of the shows I was producing, and they just said, whatever I can't remember what game it was, but when the fans won whatever they were winning, they all just burst out into "You Never Walk Alone." I was like, what? That's incredible. But they're not Liverpool or Celtic. So yeah, that's why I learned that. So that's why I'd throw it in. Ozan's asked if we were the originals. I don't know. I
don't think so, actually, because I read somewhere that we are not the originals, but kind of like made it our own, or like Liverpool taking it over, basically made it an event, a thing kind of a deal, is what I had read way back in the day when we were like, actually there was like an article on our like page when we first started it in terms of like, the history of the song kind of a deal. But meanwhile, let's address this. If you have not sent money to Proud Father asking for $12 on a random Liverpool podcast chats, if that's basically what you came up with, you are going to be nowhere near this mug over here as the greatest dads, because that's kind of like an odd way to try to get $12, by the way. But Tony says we would sing songs that were in the charts, and that one stuck with us. Tony would know. He's old enough. He was there back in the day, I think. 1920s. But okay, let's head out real quick, but end with predictions over here. It's very difficult to predict lineups, but what do you expect result wise? Give me a result prediction.
Oh, I know I said this ahead of the Frankfurt game, but within minutes, my dream for Liverpool Football Club was over. I just want a clean sheet. I'm gonna be optimistic and say we're gonna win 3-0.
3-0.
3-0.
Ozana's going with a 5-3. I'm thinking, I think 3-2 sounds good. I think that's what we want for Monday. I'll stick with that because I just don't see. I know what you mean, and I will love it too. But with Woodman in goal and possibly Ramsey as the right back and stuff, I just don't know if that's in the cards to have like a clean sheet today against Crystal Palace. It'll be interesting to see how Crystal Palace approaches this game as well, to see if they take this as this is a trophy we can win and go for it, or what they do and stuff. But let's hope it's a win. Let's hope it's a win. 1967 is Tony's first game. See, there's a lot of old timers in the chat over here. So, hopefully it's a win. It's like really late. We didn't change the hours over here. So these games are like 3:00 in the afternoon is really late for like a Liverpool game for us over here. It's kind of like an odd order here too. Football Strike says if Woodman puts on a masterclass and keeps a clean sheet, nah, I don't think so. No, I mean, honestly,
absolutely no way.
Mamardashvili has not been poor. When we're comparing it to, you can't compare anybody to Ali. It's just not a fair comparison. You're comparing it to one of the best goalies. And you know what, Ozan? That's for that alone. I mean, is there a way? I think there's a way to ban people for like 30 minutes or something like that. But you're lucky the show is ending. Otherwise, I would throw you in the corner over there. But thanks a lot, Mark, for hopping on. Thanks a lot for everybody in the chats. Do the like and the subscribe. Don't make me go get the pitchforks over here to get some views and subscribers. It's sitting over here. I'm not even going to grab it. So spread the word. We're almost at 1,500, but still not there. So really need the help in spreading the word over here, because we do not do the reactionary stuff as much. But then again, having said that, do tune in tomorrow night where you can hear a lot of reactionary stuff. But have a great day, everybody. Enjoy the game. Hopefully enjoy the win. And we'll see you guys soon. Take care.